The notification woke me up at exactly 3 a.m. At first, I ignored it. Most of the time it was nothing. A passing car. A stray cat. Maybe the wind moving a tree branch. But when my phone buzzed again, and again, and again, I knew something was wrong. Half asleep, I grabbed my phone from the nightstand and looked at the screen. Motion detected, front door camera. My stomach tightened. No one ever came to my house at that hour. Never. I lived in a quiet neighborhood where the streets were almost empty after midnight. Still, I opened the camera app. And what I saw made my heart start beating faster. The empty porch. The live video from the doorbell camera showed my front porch. The welcome mat. The small wooden chair near the wall. The flower pot beside the door. Everything looked normal. No person. No animal. Nothing moving. I frowned. Great, I muttered. Another glitch. I was about to close the app when the camera suddenly adjusted its focus. And then something moved. Something was standing there at the very edge of the camera frame, near the bottom of the porch steps. Something tall slowly stepped forward. At first, I thought it was a person. But the way it moved didn't look right. Its body seemed too thin. Too tall. The porch light flickered slightly as the figure came closer. And that's when I noticed something strange. The camera couldn't focus on its face. It looked blurry. Almost like the camera didn't know how to record it. I leaned closer to the screen. "Who is that?" I whispered. The doorbell rang suddenly, ding-dong. The doorbell rang. Loud. Sharp. My heart nearly jumped out of my chest. The figure outside hadn't pressed the button. Its arms were hanging at its sides. But the doorbell rang again. Ding-dong. I stared at the video feed. The figure was now standing directly in front of my door. Completely still. Not moving. Not blinking. Just standing there. 3:03 a.m. The timestamp on the camera changed. 3:03 a.m. For some reason, that number made my skin crawl. The figure slowly tilted its head. First to the left. Then to the right. Like it was, listening. Then it leaned closer to the camera. So close that its blurred face filled the screen. And that's when the audio picked something up. A voice. But it didn't sound human. It sounded distorted. Like several voices speaking at the same time. And it said something that made my blood run cold. "Let me in." I didn't move. I sat frozen in my bed. My bedroom was upstairs. But suddenly the house felt too quiet. Too still. The camera feed kept running. The figure didn't move. It just stood there. Staring directly into the camera. Like it knew I was watching. Then suddenly. The video glitched. The camera went dark. The screen flickered. Once. Twice. Then the camera feed completely cut out. Connection lost. Doorbell camera. I stared at my phone in disbelief. "That's impossible," I whispered. The internet in my house almost never went out. And the camera had never disconnected before. But before I could think about it any longer, I heard something downstairs. Footsteps slow. Heavy. Walking across the floor near the front door. My heart stopped. Because I never opened the door. And I was the only one in the house. The footsteps moved slowly through the living room. Then stopped. Directly under my bedroom. And then my phone buzzed again. Motion detected, indoor camera. But there was only one problem. I didn't own an indoor camera. I stared at my phone, my hands trembling. Motion detected, indoor camera. But that made no sense. I didn't have an indoor camera. The only camera I owned was the doorbell camera outside my front door. My heart began to pound in my chest as I slowly opened the notification. The app started loading another camera feed. A camera I had never installed. A camera inside my house. When the video finally appeared on my phone, my blood turned cold. The camera view showed my living room. My couch. My coffee table. My television. Everything looked exactly the same as it did downstairs. Which meant only one thing. Somehow, there was a camera inside my house. And it was connected to my phone. I stared at the screen, trying to understand how that was possible. Then the video moved. Something walked into the frame from the left side of the screen, something slowly stepped into view. My breathing stopped. It was the same tall figure that had been standing outside my door. But now I could see it more clearly. And I wished I couldn't. Its body was thin, almost unnaturally thin. Its arms were far too long, hanging down almost to its knees. The skin looked pale and stretched tightly over its body. And the way it moved. It didn't walk like a normal person. Its limbs bent slightly in strange directions, like its joints were wrong. I felt a wave of cold fear spread through my chest. Because if the camera was showing the living room, then that thing was inside my house. The front door was open. The creature slowly turned its head toward the camera. Even though the image kept glitching around its face, I could tell it was looking directly at the lens. Watching. Studying. Then the camera angle shifted slightly. Behind the creature, I could see the front door. It was wide open. But I had never unlocked it. The thing was listening. The creature suddenly stopped moving. Its head tilted slightly. Then it slowly looked upward. Toward the ceiling. Toward my bedroom. It knew where I was. My entire body froze. The creature stood perfectly still for several seconds. Then it began walking again. But this time, it was walking toward the stairs. The stairs. The indoor camera continued recording. I watched in horror as the creature slowly approached the staircase. Each step it took looked unnatural. Too slow. Too careful. Like it was learning how to move. Then it disappeared from the camera frame. And the living room went silent again. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Because the stairs led directly to the hallway outside my bedroom. The sound upstairs. A moment later, I heard it. The faint creak of the first stair. Then the second. Then the third. Each step was slow. Heavy. Deliberate. Someone, or something, was climbing the stairs in my house. I wanted to run. I wanted to scream. But my body refused to move. I could only sit there, staring at my bedroom door. Waiting. The shadow under my door. The hallway light was on outside my bedroom. And suddenly, a shadow appeared beneath the door. Tall. Thin. Moving slowly. The creature had reached the top of the stairs. I held my breath. The shadow stopped right in front of my door. Everything went silent. Then my phone buzzed again. Another notification. Motion detected, doorbell camera. The impossible footage. My hands were shaking as I opened the camera feed again. The video from the doorbell camera appeared. And when I saw the screen, I nearly dropped my phone. Because the creature was still outside. Standing on my porch. Exactly where it had been earlier. Staring directly at the camera. Which meant something impossible. If the creature outside was still there, then what was standing outside my bedroom door? The knock. Suddenly, knock. 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 3 slow knocks echoed through my bedroom. My heart felt like it stopped. The thing outside the door spoke. Its voice sounded wrong. Like several voices layered together. Soft. Cold. Almost whispering. I know you're awake. For several seconds after the knocking stopped, I couldn't breathe. I sat completely frozen on my bed, staring at my bedroom door. The shadow under the door slowly moved, then disappeared. I waited. 10 seconds. 30 seconds. A full minute. Nothing. No footsteps. No knocking. No voice. The hallway outside my room was silent again. I didn't open the door, every instinct told me to run. But there was nowhere to go. My bedroom window faced the backyard, and the drop from the second floor would probably break my legs. So I stayed where I was. The only light in my room came from my phone screen. I checked the doorbell camera again. The creature was still standing. Outside on the porch. Completely motionless. Just staring directly into the camera. My hands trembled as I whispered to myself, this isn't possible, because if the thing outside was still there, then what had knocked on my bedroom door? The longest night I didn't sleep at all. I stayed awake until the sun finally started rising through my window. When morning came, I rushed downstairs. The first thing I checked was the front door. It was closed. Locked. Exactly how I remembered leaving it. But when I opened the camera app again, the footage from the night was still there. Everything had been recorded. The creature on the porch. The doorbell ringing. The strange indoor camera. And the thing walking inside my house. I knew I couldn't ignore this anymore. So I grabbed my keys and drove straight to the police station. At the police station about 20 minutes later, I was sitting across from a police officer behind a desk. His name tag said Officer Miller. He listened quietly while I explained everything. The doorbell camera. The creature outside. The thing inside my house. The knocking on my bedroom door. At first, he looked skeptical. I could tell he thought I was exaggerating, or maybe just imagining things. Finally, he leaned back in his chair and said, "All right, let's see the footage." Showing the video, I opened the camera app and placed my phone on the desk. The first clip showed my front porch. Officer Miller watched silently. The video played normally for a few seconds. Then the tall figure stepped into view. The officer leaned forward slightly. "Is that a person?" he asked. "I don't think so," I replied quietly.